A few weeks ago, I finally watched the new Lilo and Stitch remake, the live action remake of the original 2002 animated movie. Was the live action remake is not completely live action. But the human characters are played by live humans, but the Stitch and his alien buddies are all CG animated with voice actors doing their voices. And if you would ask me, would I ever see this again? Probably not. I'd rather watch the 2002 one again over this. It's a copy, 80% copy and paste to the same plot from the original. This little girl named Lilo, she's an orphan living with her sister. She wants a pet, so she goes to the animal shelter and picks up this thing she names Stitch. She thinks it's a dog, but it's actually an alien from who's a fugitive running from other aliens that are wanting to capture him because he's this like illegal genetically engineered experiment that's crazy and the Um, there's positives and negatives I have about this remake. Like, first of all, I think it's pointless. There's no need to remake Lilo and Stitch. And why is Disney so obsessed with remaking everything now? Even the next week they're coming out with that Moana remake, and Moana is not even 10 years old. What is 10 years old? I mean, it's not even 50 or 100 years old. It came out in 2016, and you already did a sequel to it in 2024. So why don't you just make a Moana 3 instead of making this pointless Moana live action remake, which isn't even freaking live action? It's just uh, live action human actors with most whole CG environment around them. Anyway, back to Lilo. Okay, the little girl who plays Lilo in this is a new actress, and she does a all right job in it. Her name's Maya Kiloa or whatever. She's all right as Lilo, and her older sister Nani, played by Sydney Elizabeth Agodong or whatever, she does all right as Nanny. Both these characters are similar to the way they're portrayed in the original, except a minor change with Nani, where she wants to be a marine biologist, wants to go to college to learn it, and that leads into something at the end that totally butchered the whole Ohana means family meaning of the original, which I hated. And the the characters from the original movie that are in this one, the other ones like the child care service person in the original who is voiced by Ving Rhames, is a secret CIA former CIA agent who helps out with the action near the end. He's just he's not a child service character. The child service character in this one is played by Tia Carrera, who voiced Nani in the original, and that was a waste of Tia Carrera. I like Tia Carrera, but I mean, she could have been a former CIA agent in this one instead of the having the CIA agent a separate character played by Courtney B. Vance and the Cobra or something, whatever. Just a new original character to add nothing good to the story, and he takes part in the action a bit near the end, but not too impressive. And the other actors in this, Jason Scott Lee, who was the voice of their surfer buddy in the original. He has a cameo in this guy who owns this like surf shack or whatever near the beach, and the guy he voiced in the original is played. Forgive me if I say his name wrong. Kaipo Dudoit, whatever. He plays David, the surfer buddy, in this, and uh, David, he doesn't really have much to do in this either, like he did in the original, less screen time, and he was also like a love interest of Nani, but in this one, he's not a love interest for Nani, so I guess Nani's asexual or something. It's waste of a character, could have been left out. And another character, who was the main villain in the original, he's not in it at all. So in this one, they take Jumba, the bounty hunter that the Galactic Federation sends out to track down Stitch and bring him back. He's the main villain of the story. And in the original, he was not a villain. I mean, he was he was one of the bad guys, but then he has a change of heart near the end and becomes adopted into the family. But in this one, he's the main villain, and he's a total character assassination of him. And the action where he shoots around the house with the portal gun, it's kind of funny, but also a bit silly. I don't know. I have mixed emotions about it. And Zach Galifianakis or He's just all right voicing him, and also like in the original where him and his buddy Wendell, how they use human disguise, like they dress up in human clothes, but they're still look like aliens. They're not fooling anybody. But in this one, instead they camouflage themselves as humans by using these cloaking devices that turn them into humans. So Zach Galifianakis and Billy Magnuson, who plays Wendell, yeah, they when they use the human camouflages, they appear on screen in live action form. Obviously, to save money on the budget, so they won't have to use CG all throughout their scenes. And I mean, their scenes are just annoying. I didn't find those characters funny in this one. Also, there's this new character, this like native Hawaiian lady named Tutu, who's Lilo's like elderly neighbor who helps out near the end. And I didn't find that character too interesting either. She has something important to do at the end. I'll get to that later, but she was not needed either because it all it did was help do the butchered Ohana family meaning. And Hannah Waddington, she voices the alien councilwoman of the Galactic Federation who sends Jumbo to track down Stitch. And the scene she has, she does all right in it. And the CG on her character looks a bit better than CG in the other characters. I mean, Stitch, for example, I mean, the CG on him, he looks more like a stuffed animal come to life than a actual alien. Just looks obviously too cartoonish. Same thing with Jumba and Wendell. And but before I get into the most controversial problem I have with the movie, I'll tell you a little bit about what I did like about this movie. I like the Stitch. They kept just like wild destructive behavior that got a few chuckles out of me. And I like that Chris Sanders, the director of the original movie, he came back to do the voice of Stitch. Like he voiced Stitch in the original as well as all the sequels and spin-offs. So it was funny to hear him voice Stitch again. And I also like that they kept the Elvis impression thing, like in the original, like when they put Stitch's finger on the record player when it's the record spinning and he opens his mouth and the music's coming out of his mouth like the Hound Dog song. But in this one, well, it's not the Hound Dog song. It's not even an Elvis song, but he still does do some Elvis impressions and cover some Elvis songs in this one. That I'm glad they kept that because I love Elvis. And yeah, uh, I like those about the movie. But my biggest issue, my biggest complaint is the butchering of the Ohana theme at the end where Nani, she wants to be a marine biologist so desperately that she decides to go off to California to study marine biology in college. Wait, you guys live in Hawaii. You're telling me they don't teach marine biology at any of the colleges there? You'd rather abandon Lilo and go to California. Not only did you abandon her and Stitch, but you left them with your 70-year-old neighbor, Tutu, to watch, which is, I mean, she's a nice lady, but I mean, she's old. She could die on them. Like you're saying, hey, bye guys, I'm going to go abandon y'all and for important things. You're going to go stay with the old hag. I hope she don't die on you. It's basically what she should have said. That's what she meant. But I like the nice wholesome moment in the final scene with their video chatting, but and they use the portal gun for her to travel back to California and hang out with him. But I mean, if you still want to hang out with him, then you should have stayed in Hawaii. But I digress. This is a waste of a remake and with more negatives than positives for me in it. Probably never see it again. Disney, I give you a thumbs down. Stop remaking classics. Get back to the basics of doing some new adaptations of stuff you haven't done, like or even new original stories that aren't adaptations. Or like, I mean, there's a lot of fairy tales you've never made movies about, like Hansel and Gretel and Rumpelstiltskin, and I could go on and on. Those would make great movies, but you're too busy ca- caring about cash grabbing and all that. But whatever, thumbs down. All right, that's it for now. Thank you. God bless. Bye.